LCL Report is looking for advertisers. Do you have a product, service, candidate, or charity that would love to be spotlighted? Look at our numbers. Over 250,000 views this month. Over 700 subscribers this month. Multiple awards on YouTube. Over 500 subscribers to our Facebook group. There's pretty much nothing I won't do for a good story. If you want to know about rates, just email me. So support a business that supports liberty.
Hi, this is Terry Lupo. Welcome to LCL Report. Recently I went to the Georgia State Convention for Republicans to ask around and find out more information about Georgia's sovereignty or secession bill. It's actually a Senate resolution, 632. And what I found out when I went to this convention, it's pretty much everything you expect. A lot of politicians are posturing for votes from delegates, and they try to bribe in the delegates to come find out what they're about by offering them things like ice cream bars and dessert bars and food. And it was actually, I mooched a bunch of stuff, so it was good. But you can see different politicians here. But there was some nice things I found out as well. I also found asking around, I kept asking about the Senate resolution, and no delegate I talked to knew what the heck I was talking about. They kept redirecting me, and I was thinking, how does 46% of Republicans that support secession here in Georgia, and I can't find one person that knows what the hell I'm talking about? In all my searching around, I didn't find anyone to talk about the bill right away, but I did find these other liberty activists doing very interesting things. I'm going to let you listen to them.
I'm here with Gabriel. Gabriel, you're not really a Republican. What are you doing at this event?
Well, if you're familiar with Campaign for Liberty, our main goal is to infiltrate, not necessarily infiltrate, but, utilize a party as a vessel in which to promote our message of liberty and freedom.
Do Republicans get the message of liberty?
I think they do, but then it's all rhetoric. And then, during the administrations of, whatever candidate they voted for, the rhetoric goes away, and it's just statist government creeping on their civil liberties.
Yeah, we got over 200 people going with John Barrow's office on this thing, and we got it going on Tuesday, and then I was pushing. I was saying, well, hey, he didn't support that first Tuesday, and let's just see if he's what he says next Tuesday. So we went ahead and we dropped off a few more petitions. That day he went ahead and supported HR 1207.
I did search around, and I found my go-to man whenever there's some sort of liberty issue, Ray McBerry. Now, Ray McBerry is a candidate for Georgia governor who's got very strong liberty views, but what's really surprising is he's really gained strength in the last couple months. He's polling up at second and third place in the largest Republican counties in the state. I think he's got more support in more counties than anybody else. It's amazing that he is gaining popularity as he is, and he really hasn't spent much money. Ray McBerry, the reason people like him is he's the only candidate I've found that's really preaching a liberty message. It's not some watered-down conservative view. So I decided to ask him about it, and here's that interview.
I'm with Ray McBerry, who is running for governor in Georgia. And Ray, the Georgia Senate about a month ago passed a resolution, 623, which basically said that the state would have more sovereign rights. They've called it the secession bill, they've called it the sovereignty bill. Explain to me what this thing is.
Well, first of all, it's a state sovereignty resolution. It's not really about secession specifically. It's basically reiterating our rights under the 10th Amendment and reminding the federal government that the only powers that it's supposed to have as the agent of the states are those powers specifically delegated to it by the Constitution. And those powers that are not enumerated are not supposed to be included, and which comprises about 90% of what the federal government does, making those things unconstitutional. A resolution is really just a slap on the back of the hand saying no, but it's reminding the federal government that we are watching them, we are aware of what's going on and what they're doing, but in order for there to be something more substantial, it would have to be something other than just a resolution.
Well, I saw a report that 46% of Republicans in Georgia were in favor of some sort of secession bill. Is this? I mean, what's your opinion on that?
Well, I'll tell you this: secession is the last of the states' rights mechanisms that a state can employ in the defense of its liberties. There are some people who would like to argue that states cannot secede after the war for Southern independence ended. The truth is, it's still a 10th Amendment right that the states still possess. And the truth is that even if someone had claimed 100 years ago, 200 years ago, that they gave up their right to secede or their right of self-determination, the truth is no free people can ever give up their right of self-determination, because that's an inalienable right, just like life, liberty, and property. And so what we have is a situation where finally people are beginning to wake up to the fact that there is a problem with federal encroachments, and what we need to do is, first of all, make an order to the federal government giving them the option of voluntarily withdrawing back within the confines of the Constitution. If they do that, that's fine. We move on and we work to in restoring the constitutional republic. If they don't do that, then we're really at a point where the only step remaining to restore liberty could be the peaceful secession of those states which still wish to have a constitutional republic.
It does seem odd that these people, back in the day, you entered this union voluntarily, and now you're not allowed out voluntarily.
Well, the union is, the Constitution is a contract, and all parties to a contract, in order for it to be a binding contract, have to be voluntary. And of course, as with other contracts, if the states entered the union voluntarily, then they still have that God-given and constitutionally acknowledged right to withdraw voluntarily. And again, no free people can ever claim to be free and not have the right of self-determination.
The resolution that was passed, does it really have any teeth, or is it just political posturing?
Well, yeah, it doesn't have any teeth to it, no. Political posturing, I think it's at least a good first step. At least we've got the subject of states' rights, the topic of possible secession on the table now, which hasn't been there for a very long time. And so until those items are understood to be rights of the state and they're being discussed once again, well, until that happens, there's not going to be a withdrawing of the federal government back to the confines of the Constitution. So it's a good first step, and it's a step that the states should take. But if the federal government does not respond in a positive way to the resolution, then there have to be other types of states' rights mechanisms employed after that do have teeth.
Do you think, what would be Georgia's line in the sand, do you think? What would have to happen or what would be your line of the sand where you would advocate secession?
Well, I'll be honest with you, the federal government is already in violation of the contract. The federal government is already in violation of the contract now, so what the states need to do is they need to go ahead and say, you're already in violation, there's not anything else you have to do. You need to withdraw back within the confines of the Constitution immediately, and the right thing for the states to do would be to enumerate those areas in which the federal government is already overstepping its boundaries and say, if you don't do thus, 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 and thus, and by this date, by this deadline, then we will begin to take other states' rights mechanisms. Some of those could be the nullification of certain federal measures, whether they be Supreme Court decisions or legislation from Congress or presidential executive orders. If the states nullify those things, then of course they're not in effect within the boundaries of our state. If the federal government still does not remedy the problem, then the only choice left to the states at that point would be secession.
Wow, I'm impressed. A politician who actually answers questions without giving a bunch of rhetoric. Who knew they're out there? Thank you so much. This is Terran Lupo with LCL Report. As always, good hunting.
This edition of the LCL Report brought to you by StashYourSwag.com. This amazing ebook has over 100 secret hiding places